What's up, guys? I'm back with another video today. First and foremost, before we start, I want to apologize to Randage. He wanted to be on this video because he helped to repopularize hybrid Blackwings with grepher. Contrary to popular belief, it is not a recent, new innovation to Edison format. When Vayu came out in Ancient Prophecy in 2009, the OCG was all over triple grepher. The TCG followed suit. It eventually got dropped, and then it came back. And Randage's hybrid Blackwing list was one of the first of the modern Edison scene that we saw because it was featured in one of the early E3 videos back when it was still called Edit and Edison. He wanted to be on this video because he helped do so much for the deck, and now he hates it. But I just felt like recording it now, and I feel like because of the amount of theory and a replay analysis I'm going to go into, it's easier to just drop all the information in a solo video. I may have Randy on talk about it later, but yeah, just want to apologize for that. So, another YouTuber moment. I've recently hit 100 subscribers. I'd like to thank you guys. I don't put a lot of effort, as you know, into the editing, the thumbnails, the recording quality. What I do put a lot of effort in is the information that I present to you guys. I like teaching, I like talking about the game, and I like the theory aspect of it. So I do actually put a lot of effort into that stuff. So even though it doesn't show through my, the actual setup that I use and, the recording quality, it actually means a lot to me that people, really want that information. All of my recent videos have gotten me 10 to 20 additional subscribers per video, and that's exponential. So, it's not like a huge exponent, but it's greater than 1. So, whenever you get more subscribers for one video, the next one will get more because more people will be sharing it. But I don't really care about the algorithm. I'm not an algorithm guy. I can, not upload a video for a month and not care as long as what I do put out is quality. But I do want to start making more videos. People have asked me to start making more. So, my next video idea, I think, is one I wanted to do about 2 years back before I had the channel. When I was playing Reaper format in the MBT server. I just did a Q&A video because I was pretty well known there, and that was when I started to become a name in the retro community. Because my level of play in that server was above most other people's, and I had a lot of good theory and good results with the decks I was making in that format. So I want to do a Q&A video for just any kind of general Yu-Gi-Oh question. You can ask me in the comments on this video or message me on Discord. Do not tag me in a server because I will not look at it. But it can be a question about something I've already covered and maybe you wanted explanation further on it, or you just didn't understand it first. Something I haven't covered and you want me to, and if it's a good enough question and I have a good enough answer, I'm going to make a whole video on it. Any format, I don't care. Even formats I don't play, I still have opinions on. Much to the chagrin of people who do play those formats. Yeah, just any kind of questions you want answered about the game, general gameplay principles, theory, whatever. I would love to make a video on that and go through everyone's questions. I will read your name, so if you want to be anonymous, tell me. I guess that's really all I gotta say. So let's get into the video now. Today we're going to be talking about hybrid Blackwing versus pure Blackwing. This is a pretty strong point of contention among every Blackwing player in Edison. There is a camp of people who love hybrid Blackwing that would not ever play without grepher, and there is a camp of people that would absolutely never touch grepher, or used to and have shunned it like Randage. There are notable names in both sides. And so that leads people to wonder which one's actually better. If me and Hydropump and ProStorm, pretty much everyone on Ring of Destruction hates hybrid Blackwing. It's just not the build that we think is better. Meanwhile, people on other teams, such as one of the players that I'm going to talk about in this video, in Luigi Alici. He is, as far as I know, he's on either Team Overdose or Sweep. I've seen the list of people in their server, so he's on one of those two teams, and he's a very strong player. He has YCS tops. He prefers hybrid Blackwing, as we're going to see in this video. It's a very divisive idea. I believe Fraser Smith also prefers hybrid Blackwing, and he is a very strong player. So this video is going to be going over the theory and the replay analysis from my tournament matches in Deck Devastators 2 about why I think Pure beats hybrid in the head-to-head matchup, and why I think that means more than how hybrid pressures the field. So I'm going to split this video into 3 chapters. We're going to be talking about the deck list, all 3 of them. I'm going to be going over 3 matches from Deck Devastators 2, my 2 matches versus Kagapai 10, and my match versus Luigi Kira Alici. So I'm going to go over my deck list and both of theirs, talk about the theory about why Pure should beat hybrid in the head-to-head, and how it fares against the field, and also go over the replays of all 3 matches I played against these players during that tournament. I got 2nd place with Pure Blackwing in it, and both of these players also topped. They had very good records. So yeah, let's go into the decks. We'll talk about mine first because it's the Pure Blackwing list. So one thing that you will notice about this list is that I have triple prison. I am maining Cyber Dragons. I'm only playing 2 Bora, and I'm playing 1 Dark Eruption. 2 Bora, 1 Dark Eruption is wrong, and I knew this was wrong going in. The reason I play this ratio is because at the time, no one knew this was me, and I wanted people to not know it was me, except for a few people who did know already. And I've been a proponent of triple Bora for a very, very long time. You will, in fact, see me saying you have to play at least 2, but 3 is just better, like over and over and over in the Blackwing channel whenever people talk about how Bora was not good. When Dimitri first topped with hybrid Blackwing in Ribbit 2, I believe, he had the triple grepher build with 0 Bora, and everyone was just like, oh, he's such a genius, Bora is terrible. Now even Dimitri, of course, believes that Bora is necessary. Yeah, Dark Eruption's not good. Triple Bora is. That would be a change to make this list better, but I purposely played with this suboptimal ratio because it was something that I would never do, and I didn't want people to have any inclination that it was me. It's just little things like that once you've built up like a personality around some concepts, people will forever associate with you, and if you deviate from it, then it's suddenly not you. But yeah, I would play 3 Bora. My current build in person that I've built on me that I've taken to other tournaments since then has cut the Dark Eruption for the 3rd Bora. My build that I took to Ribbit Rulers cut the 2nd Cyber Dragon for the 3rd Bora, but the 2nd Cyber Dragon is just really good. But yeah, but this list is just fairly standard. I mean, you've got the 3 Sirocco, 3 Blizzard, 3 Kalute, 3 Shura. You just got, this standard lineup, and you see this in both of the other lists as well. There's nothing special about this. Dark Arm's obviously staple. The main differences lie in that I have Cyber Dragons main because I have room for them. That's one thing that's important. And I only have 1 value. On top of that, I also have all these traps. I have 12 traps in this list, whereas the other lists have, I think, at most 9, maybe 8. It's actually a much, much larger trap count. And the fact that you have room to play all these traps, you have room to play 2 Wicked Moon, 3 Prison, Dust Tornado, 2 Bottomless, because you aren't trying to jam everything into the deck and into the grepher value plays, means that you actually have a lot of leeway for more side deck space. I don't have to side the Cyber Dragons because I can main them. That gives me the opportunity to side Snowman Eater. Mind Control, you could main this. I don't even side it at the moment. I don't even, you only have 3 tuners, and outside of that, outside of the mirror or taking a dupe frog, it's honestly not exceptional. But yeah. So the core differences that you're going to notice are going to be in the trap count and the number of values that we play. So let's look at Luigi here at Luigi's list, and you see. So yeah, he has 8 trap cards, the 3 Icarus, the 2 Oppressions, and then the limited Mirror, Solemn, and Dust Shoot. He plays 2 Bora as well, which is decently standard for Hybrid Blackwing at this point, because it is, when you have all of these monsters, it is actually a little bricky to play all of the Boras because they don't do that much on their own. He plays triple Upstart Goblin, and he plays 2 Nolan Extermination. Side deck is the side deck is interesting for Hybrid Blackwing because, I mean, he plays like this Bait Doll stuff. He also sides the Minecon. Bait Doll is just more Nobleman of Exterminations, but it's reusable. He sides the Gores. Obviously, you don't want to main the Gores with the Oppressions and the Whirlwinds, but Matt K got away with it. So, and Matt Kalinda is an incredible player. I don't think it's bad to just main the Gores if you're going to play it. I've been joking lately about Gores in all my decks because it's better than the other 39 cards combined, and I mean, I think Gores honestly is better than this third Upstart, maybe, these Noblemans, and at the moment, I think it's definitely better than Maining Oppression. At the time of this list was obviously fine. Me and him played in the 7th round of Swiss, which is the last round, so we were both 6-0 going into it. This list obviously put in work for him in the tournament. So I don't have anything bad to say about like siding Gores or whatever. Like that's just his like personal decision there. But yeah, you can already just see how like the structural difference. He's got these 2 Greffers. He's got 3 value. That's already. I mean, if we look at the monster lineup, he's playing 21 instead of 19. So he cuts with 2 Cyber Dragons and he adds 2 values and 2 Greffers, which is a huge commitment to the strategy, which Hybrid Blackwing players have no issue with. That's what they want. They want, commitment to a strategy. They have multiple different lines they can take. You can set up your grave by discarding any of these level 4s. You can just like discard a Sirocco for a Shura, and then you can Blizzard the Shura back, and if the value is already in the grave, you also have Armed Wing. You can do all kinds of things with Grepher. Grepher is certainly like, it's a very toolboxy, versatile card for the deck. They want to go all in on this. So, I mean, you can't fault that. That's not like any kind of like problematic thing about the deck. But that is like a huge, massive structural difference. But when you go all in like that and you have all these monsters, you notice that they start playing cards like Nobleman of Extermination. Very, very aggressive Dust Tornado alternative. You just drop it, and then in the mirror, you get rid of all the Icaruses. You can do whatever you want. You get rid of, like versus my deck, you get rid of the D-Prisons, the Bottomlesses. That's why they don't play these cards, because Nobleman Extermination gets rid of them from their opponent. You're unaffected. I mean, you can even just banish the set Book of Moon, and you're fine. Like, you just get whatever's there out of the way so you can make these aggressive pushes with the Grepher plays. And that's just kind of how the deck is structured to play when you go into this Grepher value stuff and you go all in on it. And then we look at Kagapai 10's list, and he goes even further on it. He only plays 7 traps. He cuts the second Oppression to the side. He also plays Dark Eruption, and he plays all 3 Greffers and all 3 Boras. This is much, much more similar to Matt Kalinda's list. He goes all in. He actually he plays 24 monsters with Gores in his list. I believe from Ribbit 5, if I'm not mistaken, was when Matt Kalinda played this. And with these Dark Eruptions, you can actually do even more with the Grepher toolbox. You can discard, the Sirocco, and you can send the Blizzard, and then you can Eruption back the Blizzard. You basically search it straight from the deck. You can send Kalut and Gale, add them back with Dark Eruption. Dark Eruption's really, really nice with the Grepher. It's better in this list than it is in mine, and it was still pretty good in mine for the most part. But I don't think it's optimal in pure Blackwing anymore. At the time I did. At the time I knew that 3 Bora was optimal, but I also thought that Eruption was optimal. But I don't think it is anymore. I think that this Eruption for 3rd Bora is the change to make to my list. I still play this list except with that change, and this list it puts in work. So this list is obviously very streamlined for doing the Grepher plays. The Nobleman Extermination is just very, very standard stuff for the Grepher hybrid list. Um, like I said, it's just a very aggressive option. They don't even side like Dust Tornado. Um, they don't side any sort of removal like that because they're packing all the removal they want in the main deck, and it gives them a lot of leeway to just play very, very. It sounds negative. It lets you play sloppy and still win, which is a really nice quality of the deck. I'm not gonna lie. Not that these players played sloppy against me, but like it allows you to make mistakes and still win. And it's certainly an option for playing a very aggressive build of a deck. The sideboard options are just so different. Like he's siding Decree. A world where Blackwings get away with siding Decree. I mean, that's a world we're living in. Apparently, you would never think that like Blackwings are the deck that gets to side Decree. But I mean, in a build like this, you only have 7 trap cards in the main deck. You can easily, at any point in time, take everything but like the Mirror, Solomon, Dust Shoot out, put the Decrees in. You just, I mean, you can probably. I don't think he sides enough spells to take out every single trap and like still put in enough things. But a few traps next to Decree never hurt. Yeah, the fact that you can just side Decree in this list and go so aggressive. Skill Drain, once the Armed Wing is on the field, 2300 is a menace. You don't get that luxury in regular Blackwing, which you kind of do. I've sided Skill Drain regular Blackwing before, and you could probably side it decently in this list with the main Cyber Dragons. However, it is a lot worse when you're not turboing out Armed Wing or Armor Master or even Silverwind. You see Luigi Alici also sided his Skill Drains. But as far as everything else goes, I mean, you got the 2 Crow. I sided 2 Crow. 2 deck devs are in mine and Kagapai's, and then Luigi sides 1 copy. 2 Light Imprisonings in both sides. Like, the decks do kind of still have to side similarly because they lose to similar things. Now, the best card in my side deck of the whole tournament was Snowman Eater. The card's insane. They don't really have room in the side for that because they have to side with Cyber Dragon so they don't main them. Which is not like a deck building error or anything, but it is pretty nice that maining the Cyber Dragon, like getting to have the room to play Cyber Dragon, and so you have like it's almost like a 17 card side deck because you're preing the Cyber Dragon. It's very nice. It's very comfortable to be able to play like that and just have aggressive pushes without having to worry about not having defense in the mirror. Yeah. There isn't that much left to say about the deck. Like, obviously, you can see from the side-by-side comparisons here how different mine is versus, like, Luigi's or Kagapai's. But at the end of the day, they are still doing Blackwing things. You have the 2 Whirlwind, you have the Sirokkos, the Shuras, the Boras, the Blizzards, the Kalutes. I mean, very obviously Blackwing things. And the deck's going to do what it's going to do. The list isn't bad, obviously. The list has tons of results. Senor Thodor, who is credited with the innovation of No One Extermination in Pumpkin of Games 2, I believe went 14-1. He lost round 1 and it was a double elimination tournament. I think he went 14-1 to win the tournament and even won the last. I mean, he won the tournament. He won a loser's bracket, so he beat the finalists twice in a row. Obviously a very good player, but also incredibly strong results for the deck. So when you look at these kind of results, now the question is, well, why does half the player base, including players like ProStorm, Hydro Pump, why do they think Pure is better? So let's get into the theory. So first we're going to talk about the head-to-head matchup. I think it's pretty trivially obvious that when you have 2 Book of Moon, 2 Bottomless, and 3 Prison, and Dust Tornado in main, you're going to be doing fine against any Blackwing opponents. These cards are killers for the mirror match, which, at the end of the day, whichever build you're playing, it's still a mirror. So in the head-to-head matchup, if you look at Deep Prison, all of a sudden their Armed Wing just doesn't mean anything. Now, not only do they have the grepher Armed Wing, their Armed Wing gets prisoned, now they have the grepher that their Kalute can't defend, Special Cyber Dragon, normal Shura, a Shura run over the grepher in the mirror is absurdly strong, especially if you have no back row, and their only trap cards being that can stop it being Mirror Force and Icarus. If Shura is your only monster, it cannot be stopped except by Mirror Force. And then when you're also maining your own, Dust Tornado, MST, and Storm to just deal with that, their only defensive option against you, while you have Book of Moon, Bottomless Dimensional Prison, you have your own Icaruses that you're completely and totally okay with, and they can't play around. And that's one of the biggest things. While you can play around your opponent's Icaruses while they're on Hybrid Blackwing, they don't have that same luxury because their best plays going into you are to make bigger monsters, and the best way they do that is with grepher. So they summon grepher, they make Armed Wing, they have 2 cards for Icarus attack. Guaranteed. Grepher set up Armed Wing and then poke with grepher just does not cut it in the mirror. I mean, you just lose straight up to just blank Shura. I mean, you lose to a naked Shura, but then if they have Whirl Shura and you just have, when your only trap cards are Icarus, you need that Winged Beast on the field, and grepher is not that. So already there are some huge disconnects between how the Hybrid Blackwing wants to play against everything else and how it wants to play against the mirror. Against any other deck, you are completely and totally fine with grepher, set up the Armed Wing, and poke with grepher. And if the grepher dies, you don't have any problems. But there's one card in the mirror that Hybrid Blackwing simply cannot deal with efficiently. And when you leave the grepher up and let your opponent run over to Shura, they will summon it. And that is Blackwing Armor Master. You're going to see several times in these replays where Shura and Gale wins the game. It doesn't matter if the Gale came from hand and have their attack, or if it came from a deck and was negated, because it's still going to be making Armor Master. Another thing that is incredible about maining with Cyber Dragons is that Cyber Dragon is a 5, Blizzard is a 2. That adds up to 7, and Armor Master only needs a Blackwing tuner. You have more access to Armor Master by maining Cyber Dragon than you would have otherwise. The best part, even just when you go Cyber Dragon and then Blizzard summon something, and then you summon the Armor Master, you still have a Winged Beast to tribute for Icarus. It is a blowout against the Hybrid Blackwing list, and it's one of these one of these plays that just kind of proves this concept of, if your trap cards are good enough, Hybrid Blackwing just can't do anything to you, which is exactly what I wanted to go for with this list. I think Blackwings are good enough against the meta that I don't need this additional aggression and pressure from Dark Grepher and Armed Wing. I think that the trap cards are perfectly fine. Against something like Drill Warrior, against Quick Draw, you should have an easy time. Because you have Bora, you have Sirocco pump the Bora, you have Book of Moon to stop their synchro play. Like, they go, like, Debris Summon Dandy, you just book the Debris and they lose. It's actually just a very unfair matchup. Very tough for Hybrid Blackwing to deal with that without oppression. They have the same Icarus attacks that we do, so it doesn't even count. Outside of oppression, it's not very fun to play that matchup. Now, another thing is that while you can pressure, for example, Value Turbo, Dark Grepher being able to get through both the Hamster and the Raikou to deny them like their Caius plays and stuff is actually very, very nice. Regular Blackwing actually has a pretty tough time against that deck because Hamster is favored versus Shura, mostly favored versus Sirocco, and of course Raikou in general is favored versus Shura. You don't really have to worry too much about that with the hybrid version of Blackwing, so that is actually a matchup that is better when you have the Greffers in the deck. But another matchup that's worse is going to be Frogs. For very obvious reasons, these Nobleman Extermination, they don't do anything to Frogs. Grepher summoning Armed Wing doesn't do anything to frogs. In fact, it just gives them a target for their Caius, and then they run over the grepher. It actually just makes your matchup versus frogs so much worse, because you have it's harder to get the Icarus attack to gain real value in that matchup, because if they just don't let you, and then they still have some way to banish your Armed Wing, and now you're left with a grepher on board that just doesn't look so hot because it needs something in hand, and you've already used something from your hand. It's honestly not a very fun matchup to play. Oppression does nothing to frogs either, unless they're on the Diva version, maybe the Junk version. I've sided in against Junk and Diva frogs before, but against the actual frog part of the deck, Oppression does nothing. This deck is just not well equipped to handle frogs in game 1. Whereas Pure Blackwing does that much more effectively. I think that Pure Blackwing, it's the only matchup where you have to see Whirlwind, which does suck, but I mean, you can't win without Whirlwind when you're playing this deck either against frogs. But I mean, the Icarus, the prisons are honestly not that bad against frogs. You know, they go Unifrog. You can prison that. You can draw a prison into a Monarch, and they attack with it, and then you're fine. I don't think the matchup is favored toward Blackwing regardless in game 1, but I mean, I think it's much better than with a hybrid Blackwing list. So I don't think there's that much left to say about the comparison between the decks. You can just kind of see for yourself how wildly different they are structurally. I mean, the hybrid list is just all in, fewer trap cards. The trap cards it does play are meant to be blowouts. And that obviously makes it much worse against the pure version of the deck. The Dark Eruptions are nice, but yeah, it's just like this lack of trap cards that really does it in. So I kind of integrated the theory into the like the deck building section. Everything in Yu-Gi-Oh is intertwined, as I've always said, but yeah. So like I said, with Shura running over Grepher, with the prisons hitting the Armed Wings, and just taking them off of their follow-up value plays, like once you prison the Armed Wing, if you do something about the Grepher, they're just not resolving any more values that game. It's just it's very difficult for them to get the foothold back in the game after that, and they just don't have the same luxury of doing it to you. But there's another problem with hybrid Blackwing, which is that a lot of people think it's the best of both worlds, that being Value Turbo or Pure Blackwing, where you have the Grepher, so you can send the value of the Sirocco some of the Armed Wing, or you have a Whirlwind, you can send the Sirocco and the Shura, get the searches off, and just get this advantage train going. But you always have to choose. You simply don't get the best of both worlds in any game. Whenever you open Grepher, Sirocco, again, well, like, let's say you open Grepher, Sirocco, Whirlwind going second, what do you do? Well, obviously you would think, okay, well, I'm just going to Whirl Sirocco, because that's a better play. Well, if that's such a better play and Pure Blackwing can do it, is Grepher doing anything for you? No. Of course, you can just add value, and then next turn Grepher, discard a value, send a Sirocco, and you have another Armed Wing, or if a Sirocco dies, you can send whatever else you feel like sending. Send 2 values if you want. Absolutely, or you can just send, or you can just add Shura if you bank on your Whirlwind not dying. The Whirlwind play is pretty much always better, especially into no back row. But it's like I was saying, I was talking to Fraser about this in the Blackwing channel on SNFormat.com, and I mentioned like these words. I said it's just not the best of both worlds, because unless you open multiple Siroccos, you always have to choose. And when you open the Whirlwind, say you open Sirocco with Whirlwind, and you search for Shura, well, next turn, now you want to summon the Shura too. You're going to lose the bottomless either way. Now you want to summon the Shura too, because you want to get another search off Whirlwind. And you can be like, oh, well, if a Whirlwind dies, I'll have a Grepher, but it's not that simple, because you don't actually have a good discard for Grepher now. So unless you open multiple Siroccos, and you can special the Grepher, and then also like normal summon a Blackwing, you're not you're not getting both decks for one. You're still playing one of the two, and you can argue, well, if I see one or the other, that's just the play I make, and then I have more plays because I'm, playing more copies of my playmakers. But when you look at the hands that involve multiple values, these dead dark eruptions or noblemens, you don't have the eruptions in this list, so let's talk about maybe you still have the exterminations. The multiple values, and multiple values is really the killer. I mean, like, if you don't see the dark grepher, you're just you're not having fun with multiple values in your hand. Yeah, you just, at the end of the day, you still have to pick which deck you're playing. And it makes it so that, like, instead of having a streamlined game plan, you draw these hands that look really stupid with something like Blizzard Whirl Grepher. And you're forced into making some stupid looking play like Whirl, Blizzard, search value, and then next turn you have to you play Grepher. Or you draw a Blackwing that's actually useful, and now your turn one play looks stupid because you wasted a Blizzard, which probably died. It leads to really awkward hands, and all the times I've played it, I've looked at these hands and gone, wow, I wish this Grepher was literally any Blackwing monster, except I guess Blizzard or Value. But like any of these bigger Blackwings, I mean, when you see Whirl in hand, you just want the Grepher to be one of those. Now, is Pure necessarily better at opening Blackwing plus Whirlwind? No, because you play the same number of them. You play the same number of Blackwings to open with Whirlwind. But you play all these trap cards. You play all this defense. Grepher's not defense, but Bottomless, Prison, Book of Moon, these are good defensive cards. So when you don't open as broken as you would like, you have a lot of backup. And then game 2 with Snowman Eater, Fossil Dyna, I mean, you just have so many ways to play a game fairly that Blackwing Hybrid just doesn't seem to get to have. Those are probably the two main key points of the theory I would say are necessary in comparing them head to head. But then when you have monsters that aren't Blackwings, Grepher's small, Cyber Dragon's not, and Grepher can't be protected by Kalut. Whereas Cyber Dragon usually just doesn't need to be. You see, here's the thing. A standing Cyber Dragon in the mirror cannot be run over by Sirocco or Shura without help. Whereas a standing Grepher in the mirror is a liability. Like I said before, if Shura runs over to Grepher and gets Gale and makes Armor Master, you are not having a fun time. You have to be able to get to Brionet. Because your opponent's probably either protecting the Armor Master with their life so that Icarus won't matter, or they're not even letting you Icarus it because it's their only card. And especially game 2 when Crows are coming in, because Crows are terrible sides against Pure Blackwing, which I still had people siding Crow against me, and it was the worst card in their deck, and I actually capitalized off that very well, because I had a dead card the whole time. But Crow is not dead versus Hybrid Blackwing. So if your opponent brings in Crows and they have a Crow for your Blizzard, if you don't have Bora in hand, you lose. It's over. Without Prison, without Bottomless, with Oppression and hoping that they play into Icarus being the only outs, and if they don't play into Icarus and just keep you off Wing Beast, they can still put cards on the field. It's very difficult, and I think that in the hybrid matchup particularly, more than the Pure mirror, Pure just has better access to making Armor Master because of a liability that is Dark Grepher. When you don't have a Bottomless to hit the Shura, when you don't have a Prison to hit the Shura, when you have to rely on Mirror Force in order to keep them off of the one card that the mirror just can't do much about, it is a huge issue to have a Grepher on the field. So those are the main theory reasons. Now I could talk, about really minute, micro interactions all day long. I can talk about the math behind opening multiple values and how Value itself, Value Icarus is the worst liability possible against Pure Blackwing, because if they just go Shura attack, what are you doing? I mean, you can argue, oh, well, you could draw your one value and set it in regular Blackwing and then in the mirror. But I have Deep Prison, I have Book, I have Bottomless. Like, yeah, I can brick. I can draw none of these cards. I can have to set value Icarus turn 1 and lose the mirror to Shura. But I don't have as much of a problem with Shura doing things like Android or Armor Master because I have, again, the Bottomless of Books for Prisons. I can draw outs to these cards. Notably Android. Android just doesn't mean anything. And Catastrophe obviously means nothing. But like, if an Armor Master is not attacking me because it fears Prison, it's fine. It's not a card at that point. So it's not actually any real amount of an issue to have to set value Icarus turn 1 in pure Blackwing compared to the incredible liability that it is in hybrid Blackwing. So now that I've gone through, the decks and like the side-to-side comparison of like how they're built and the theory behind why I think pure is favored, let's talk about why pure is favored into the field regardless. So, like I said before, you have a terrible frog matchup either way, but because of prisons, because of books, bottomlesses, you're much more fine. I think that the only matchup that hybrid Blackwing does better is value turbo because it can pressure through the set monsters so much quicker. The thing is, hybrid Blackwing is really good pressure against most decks. Like, most worst decks are still going to succumb to the fact that it is Blackwing. And you can use that as your argument for saying, well, if decks are going to lose to it anyway, let me just win the game really quickly, not care about what anyone else is doing. That's fine. It's not how it works in reality, sadly, because you do have to care what they're doing. You don't have a guarantee to draw Extermination from a Bottomless or a Prison. You don't have any kind of guarantee that they don't just rip Caius off the top. You're playing against Frogs, Treeborns of the Grave. Your Armed Wing comes out negated. You can't just pierce over it. You can't just keep doing damage. And then they summon a 2400 monster. If it's Caius, then they banish for Armed Wing. They run over the grepher. If it's Ryza, they do the same thing, except it's arguably even worse. The Armed Wing gets bounced. It's not worse. I mean, they don't know that you're not playing Burial, but you could be. So technically, I mean, it's arguably worse if you were on a card like Burial. And that's another thing. I think these decks can probably get away with playing Burial. It's pretty broken in value turbo. I think these decks probably get away with playing it, but it might be another brick. Like Eruption is kind of bricky too. It's tough to say, but I don't know. It might not be the worst card. Anyway, it's a completely different one. Yeah, that's the thing though. Like, even though you can make all these arguments about how much better this deck is at pressuring against the field because it has the Blackwing plays and the grepher plays, I mean, in practice it doesn't work out that way. You're playing the same deck. I mean, it's still Blackwings. Whatever you lose to outside of value turbo, you're probably just going to lose to regardless of the build. So you're just kind of praying with hybrid Blackwing, I think, and that's why me and Pro Storm and Hydra don't like it. And that's why I'm making this video, to really explain like the difference, because a lot of people just don't get the difference. Like, they look at Dark Grepher and they see more plays, when in reality what you're getting is liabilities in the mirror, even against other decks. Dude, even against, like, I don't know, some stupid deck like Flamvel, Dark Grepher's a liability. Like, he's not a winged beast, so he doesn't threaten Icarus. You have no trap cards to deal with cards like that. I mean, Fitz just won one of the 16 mans in Beast Mode's tournament with Flamvel. Like, I'm sure if he played against this deck, I mean, he saw a naked grepher. Dude, he would have had a field day. And Flamvel's not a good deck, but I mean, I mean, when they resolve Fire Dog and they have Rekindling in their hand, it is actually very annoying. And you have no defense except this lone Mirror Force against cards like that. Damage step effects, can't do them with Royal Oppression. You can hit the Synchro with it, but I mean, Oppression's really bad into the meta anyway right now because of all the frog decks, the Blackwings themselves, bad against Value Turbo, bad against fairies. It's good against zombies, that's probably it, but your zombie matchup's already so good when you play Blackwings. So I just don't feel like this deck is actually like any improvement over regular Blackwing. So, all that having been said, let's get into the replay analysis. We're going to look at my 3 replays. My round 6, we are both 5-0 replay against Kagapai 10. My round 7, where we go 6-0 against Luigi Alici. And then the tournament was top 12, and because I was undefeated in Swiss, I was the first seed, so I did not have to play in the top 16, quote-unquote, because I got a bye into top 8 directly. Kagapai won his top 16 match and faced me in top 8, so I played against him again. So we're going to look at all 3 of those matches. We're going to do them open-handed because there are 3 of them, so it's going to be quite long. I don't want to do a close hand and then an open hand one. I want to do more close hand and then open hand, do 2 analyses for replays. I want to do those, but for this one we're just going to look at them open-handed. And yeah, let me get this out of here. Been open too long. Okay. So he won the rock, paper, scissors, and we're going to look at his opening hand compared to mine. Okay, so he opens Whirlwind, Kalute, Grepher, Blizzard, Dust Shoot, Shura. Okay, this is one of those hands. Now you're going to watch his first turn play. He's going to play Whirlwind, and he's going to search with Shura for Bora. And he sets Dust Shoot, of course. You can already see this Grepher's doing nothing. He made his turn 1 Blackwing play because Shura Whirlwind was the better play. There was nothing to do with his Grepher. And he even searched Bora, which is next to normal something. He has I would probably search for I'd actually probably search for value here to make the Grepher live, but he probably wants to save that for the Blizzard, which is fair. And he just wants to use Bora to search for Gale or something. But if you don't search for value, now your Grepher looks stupid the whole game. Which this is probably still the correct play, but maybe playing Grepher's not. I don't want to be too snide in this replay. I want to actually give good analysis of the games and show you the game states that arise in this type of mirror. So he puts back. I'm assuming he puts back Sirocco. Yeah, he puts back Sirocco. Here I storm and play my Whirlwind. I obviously storm here because I know that him playing hybrid, he has not owned very many traps. I will not get a good chance to storm at any point in time later. There's no reason not to just storm away the Whirlwind so he can't get any more advantage. And with this Bora, I search for Gale. I have, and I make Armor Master. And I set the prison. Already, he draws another Grepher. Already, he's in a bit of a pickle. Now, of course, he has Blizzard, and he can make Brio, which occurs. I don't have any real response to it. Pitching a Grepher. He doesn't attack. I draw another Icarus. I set it because if he has Storm, he didn't have Storm last turn, so he's probably not going to draw it this turn. He would have definitely just Stormed last turn. So I'm like, okay, I can just set the Icarus, and then that way, when I finally do draw a monster, I'm fine. He just attacks the Brio, and I imprison it, so I can make another Armor Master if I need to. I draw that. I set everything here, and finally I draw Sirocco. His only interaction is Icarus, and I have Solemn for it. Here he gets another Blizzard. And here I just go for game. So you saw already that while he did out the Armor Master, he was forced into a play that was weak for the state of his hand. He didn't have any values for his Greffers. He didn't have a good pitch for for Brio, and he had to get rid of one of the Greffers. Something that I had just noticed about playing versus this deck in general was how strong Armor Master was. If it lived, then they couldn't beat it, and if it If they had an out to it, they had to play the out immediately, or it was going to stomp them. So here he opens Whirlwind again, which is very good in the mirror. Bora, Blizzard, Storm, and Mirror Force. So let's see what his draw is. His draw is Crow. See, this is what I was saying. He signed in Crow against me because he saw Blackwings, but I'm not on the build that he's playing. This Crow just doesn't go the distance against me like it would against him. So he just passes. I'm not sure why. We both opened Storm again, I opened Storm again, which is funny. He just passes. I'm not sure why he passes. Because he could just go Whirlwind and then have Bora search for Kalut, and then he has Blizzard set up. Or he can set Mirror Force. Maybe he wants to feign Gores, but I don't care, man. Like, I've got Dark Arm, Blizzard, Kalut. So I think his play here was probably along the same lines as what my thought process was last game, where he wants to Storm and then Whirlwind. He doesn't want to use a Whirlwind and then Storm later. And because he didn't want to set the Mirror Force either in case I didn't give him opportunity to use it. But in the mirror, I think this is just slow. I think turn 1, you open Whirlwind, you have to. Because if I open Whirlwind and I do my stuff, it's and then I get the chance to go into the battle phase as well, and you don't. It's a little iffy. So I just attack for 18. He takes it. I set Mirror Force. Okay. He allures. He sides in his own Cyber Dragons. He storms away my Mirror Force, and now he does the play. So that is what he was going for. He decides to do the same thing to me. I storm his Whirlwind for the second time. This Crow actually did work against me. I didn't expect him to side it in. But now, I mean, he's doing fine against me now. I just lose this game. Yeah. Darn. I'm talking all this big stuff against the deck, but he actually wins the game. So let's look at his opener. I put back Grepher because he had the Sirocco. He has Dust Shoot for me as well. He has Sirocco, Dust Shoot, Bora, Sidra, and Value, and I put back the Grepher. So he has no plays. I mean, his only play is summon the Bora, which he doesn't do. He instead puts back Kalut. So I pass knowing that he can't do anything. He draws the Grepher back, but he opts not to do it because he knows my set's bottomless. Instead he tries to bait out the bottomless, but that works. And now I draw Icarus, so I'm actually fine with making this play. I know that even if he drew back the Grepher, he's not going to have an out of his Armor Master for quite a while. So then I storm away the Eruption, I hit over Armor Master, and I set the Icarus. And he just summons the Sirocco into this defeat. He has nothing in his hand to deal with his Armor Master. If they can't deal with it, they lose. And if they can, they're forced to. So that's the first route. I'm not trying to go over all my plays. I think that some of my plays were inaccurate here for sure. I probably should have, knowing that he had Sirocco and Cyber Dragon hand, I probably should have held the bottomless and then tried to use my own Sirocco to get over his. I think that maybe that was a play. Let's actually go back through it. Let's see how that line would have turned out. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I played perfectly for these matches. I'm never going to lie to you and say that because I make misplays a lot. A lot more than I should. I play very fast. I believe this match was over in about 15 minutes. During that whole day, actually, my matches were over. Yeah, my first 2 matches were 2-0s that were over in like less than 15 minutes. I just play very, very fast a lot of times, and I make mistakes doing that. So yeah. Here, I think it's arguable that I can just banish the Crow. But if he had a way to actually summon, like, if he had a Blizzard, if he had like multiple Greffers, and I couldn't deal with anything, I would like to have a way to deal with that. And this Blizzard's just not doing much right now. So, banishing the Crow is very possible because then I have Sirocco, Kalut, and then I have a Blizzard summon Kalut play. And then Blizzard Sirocco is also Armor Master. I may have just cheated myself out of an Armor Master and got lucky. Yeah, so we see how this goes. He puts back the Kalute, so actually having Blizzard wouldn't have mattered. Yeah, so what I'm thinking here is if I go back and I don't bottomless, I just let him attack, knowing that his hand is these 4 cards and an unknown. I can just go Sirocco, pump, and he can't Kalute unless he has 2 Kalutes. But I know that these 4, so I know that if any card's Kalute, it has to be only this one. So there's no way he can Kalute over, like there's no way he can like protect Viscera of Kalute if he has no back rows. And yeah, I also have Sirocco, Gale, Pump, and then have Viscera and do that, but because then he can't. Yeah. Then he goes Sirocco and he specials a Bora, and I just bottomless the Bora, and I'm sitting here with a level 8, and he can't do anything to it. It would be Stardust for sure. Yeah, I think actually that line is better and would and it would just benefit me so much more because I have Storm. I'm not afraid of any back row. So if the card he drew back with this, I literally know Cyber Dragon, Sirocco, Bora, value. I know these cards. So if this card's a back row, I just Storm, and he can't. I don't think he can win the game from there. So yeah, holding this bottomless was better and would probably just put me in a better position. Instead, I'm forced to just do nothing for a turn. Or this. This also works. I play Gores really badly here, but it doesn't matter. If he drops Gores, I just have it in main phase 2, and I set Icarus and just don't make Armor Master. Yeah. Yeah, I actually played this game 3 not that exceptionally. Yeah, he normal with Sirocco, he had 2 Boras, and he realized he just cannot do anything to Armor Master. Many such cases. Yeah, so that's the match versus Kagapai. If there's anything to learn, do be a little more conservative with the bottomless trap hole against this deck, because if you have Sirocco in hand, there's no reason to just use it on the first thing you see unless they have Whirlwind. I actually play that pretty sloppy, which is a shame, because now you guys can see how bad I play sometimes. But I'm not here to lie to you. I make mistakes. I'm not some unfathomably good player, regardless of what deck I'm playing. So, yeah, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Say this is like some 100-0 matchup here. I got lucky in these matches. Like it's 60-40 at best. I don't think Hybrid Blackwing's terrible, but I think the theory does show that you are favored when you play pure Blackwing because you have access to more of the trap cards like Bottomless. And but that's just not enough. You do have to get lucky, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I got lucky in these matches. Let's go to round 7 versus Luigi Kira Alici. Wow. Again, very good player. He has YCS tops. I believe this was a close match. I opened very bad. I just set the bottom. If he has Storm, I do not want to have to like burn the Solemn. That are like one of the things about this matchup is that they can just do damage to you, and if you burn the Solemn too early, then yeah, it's just so hard to come back when you're on such a life point differential versus this kind of aggressive deck. We both open very poorly. It's actually very funny. Look, we both have Blizzard and 2 Kalutes with nothing with nothing to really do. So he sets Royal Oppression. I just summon the Kalute and go because I draw Icarus attack, and now I set everything because I know that unless this back row is his own Solemn or a Pro Storm. If he's setting it, he loses multiple things. I have Kalute. We both just bricked. This is and then I in phase just hit these 2, and now I have Blizzard. I believe I make Android. Yeah, Android. With Solemn and Book of Moon to protect this Android, and yeah. And I banished Gale here because I have game by doing this. Make Armed Wing, and then Kalute over it. Did I just not go for game? Oh, I didn't need to. He was on 24. Okay. I'm learning things about myself, guys. I don't know how to do math. So here in game 2, he opens with Whirlwind and a Shura. No grepher stuff played yet. And he has Mirror Force set here. So I just play into Mirror Force. And I tell him about my Kaloot, which sucks. I didn't even think about Mirror Force. He gets a lot of advantage from this. Yeah, I just admit, there's nothing to do. That was one of those games where obviously I made a mistake, but it should not have been a mistake that lost the game if I drew a little better. I can't blame draws there because I did make a mistake, but like I said, this is not like some free matchup. This is, I mean, he's still playing a real deck. He's still playing a deck that I have to like draw well against, otherwise he'll steamroll me. And you see, I'm not even drawing prisons here. Like I just drew a prison there. So I just set Prison Icarus. If he storms me here, I don't actually care. At least it's going early. And it also, because I saw Nova Extermination, I want him to... If he storms me, he storms me. It's one storm. But, I mean, if he Noblemans, he's going to 50-50. If I'd set one back river, he was going to Nobleman, for sure. If I, like... Because I thought about just setting Prison, and I was like, if he has Nobleman, then my prisons are gone. I'm not actually any better in the matchup now. But, yeah. So here I just Sirocco pump over it. And now my Icarus is online, my D-Prison. He does hit my prison, he just goes for it. But my Icarus is online now, so I don't have to care. And I Icarus here. Because I have... And see, that's another one. I just got lucky. I got, like, the Shura, like, I was fine. I was fine just by having the Shura, but, I mean, drawing the Whirlwind there was very lucky. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. This match was not, you know, some extreme example. Like I said, in game 1, we both bricked. We both just drew Blackwing hands. Here he gets Sirocco. But I have brain control. Yeah. See, I mean, Dark Arm brain control. That's just a match. This match in particular did like. I think he played better than I'm not trying to insult Kagapai here, but I think he played better than Kagapai, and I actually had to get lucky against him because he's a very strong player, and I don't think I would go more than 50-50 with him, regardless of whether he's on pure or hybrid and or what I'm on. You know, this is obviously, you know, the Snowman Eater is really good here, but this is obviously some proof that, like, you know, like, but it's not proof that, like, I'm a better player than him at all. Like, I don't want to sound like that, because I obviously sacked him. But look at this. He can't do anything with his hand. He has no defense. Like, I pop his Sirocco, or I steal his Sirocco. He can't Gores me because of Whirlwind. Like, what's he going to do? He's going to play Fader, Trag, and Blackwing. He doesn't play, he does side the Gores. I think he's Velissa siding the Gores. But he can't Gores. He can't Gores because of Whirlwind. So, I mean, like, with no defense, like, yes, Dark Arm can just pop trap cards. But if he had trap cards, if Bottomless was down and I went into Dark Armed, I don't just have some kind of automatic win here. Now, I do have another Sirocco in hand, so I can bait that with the Dark Arm. I can bait the Bottomless with Dark Arm. So, I mean, I just drew a hand that just sacked him here. But, like, if he had trap cards and I didn't have this other Sirocco, I don't just win the game. Like, I literally don't just win the game. Because I can't search for... I can search for Gale Special. Did I use Gale already? No. Maybe I just win the game with this hand regardless. We'll go with Sirocco. It's very sacky hand. But if he had more than just this, or if he had, like, I don't know, Icarus down, and he could, like, chain... Yeah, like... And, I mean, I play Icarus too, so it's not really... It's just not his fault for not drawing it, but, like... If he just had more trap cards, I feel like Book of Moon here would be good because he could just book the Sirocco, and, like, yeah, I have Monster. I could probably just Tribute Summon, search Bora, Special It, and how much damage is that? 37 minus 9 is 28. That's actually exactly game. That's funny. Yeah, nothing was saving him here, but trap cards would definitely help him in the long run, because look at his hand. If his hand was not dark armed, Sirocco, like I could still do things against it because he doesn't have a defense. Whereas, I mean, with the prisons in my deck, yeah, he had Nobleman, but I mean, with the prisons, Icarus, I just have the ability to like fend off a lot of things. This match isn't really a great example of anything, but it is definitely just kind of goes to show you the hands that the deck draws. Just it's all in. There's just not a lot of defense. Whereas like in the game 1 and 2, or especially the game 1 versus him, I mean, he just couldn't really do much because I had all these trap cards. He had 1 play per turn. So moving on to top 8 versus Kagify 10. He won the rock paper scissors again. He opens Whirlpool, so he searches for Blizzard because he has Icarus. The play that I think anyone here would make. I have my own Kalut, so I just get to do this. And you see, this is what I'm talking about, the standing Armor Master. I just am not putting cards on the field. He can Gale have this all he wants. He makes Dark in here, but I have Cyber Dragon Brain Control, and his Icarus is just not doing anything. He has no Black Wings, and now I have the trap cards. I don't know why he didn't Icarus that. I actually have no clue why he didn't Icarus that. That's actually insane. I shark him here. I sharked him here. He went Blizzard and then declared a Whirlwind, and didn't declare Blizzard, and so I didn't let him summon the Gale. And he actually complained about it after the match when he reported a loss, and I just replied, "That was the game you won," and he shut up. It was really funny. I was wondering why the Gale didn't come out, but yeah, I sharked him there. Not really a shark. I mean, he literally didn't declare the effect. And it was a tournament. If it was a casual game, I'd let him. But I mean, it's a tournament. You didn't declare the effect. I can't let you get away with that. He goes for Stardust here. Hits the Mirror Force. I'm not sure why. That's just such a weird decision. I don't know why he would hit the Mirror Force when that didn't do anything the previous turn. The Stardust just walked through it. You got to hit one of the 2 new ones, surely. And now I Stardust here. Yeah. This one, yeah. Here he finally Icaruses, and I change my own Icarus. But I'm in such a rough spot with just the Cyber Dragon, and I believe the Dark Arm's dead. Yeah, the Dark Arm's dead. I have 5. None of them's value. And yeah. He has another Sirocco engraved, so you can just do that. Here I open a pretty Blackwingish hand. 2 multiple Lizards, Gale, Bora, no Whirlwind. I have Dust Shoot on him, and he has an MST for Mirror Force. So, and this is exactly what I'm saying. He's just playing Blackwings right now. This is just a Blackwing mirror. He doesn't have the grepher stuff. The grepher's not doing anything. The grepher's sitting in his deck. It's not doing anything for him. He's playing the Blackwing cards, and the Blackwing cards are playing a better game. Did you see the previous game? Yeah, he had multiple values, but the greffers didn't do anything. He was playing Blackwing cards. The Blackwing cards were playing the better game than his greffers were. So here I just have Blizzard, Bora, Icarus. I mean, I just pop those 2. Turn to attack. He summons the Bora, or summons a Shura. Shura's over the Bora. Gets the Gale, and now I pop. This summon here is insane. I set the prison. And officially we were doing Blackwing things. And now I just summon an Armor Master. And once again, this Armor Master, look at his hand. Look at his look at what his hand contains. I prison this Armor Master. He can't do anything to the Armor Master. Look how insane that card was against him. Whereas when he summoned Armor Master, whether he summoned that Armor Master off of value which he did, or he summoned it off of or summoned it from the extra deck like he's supposed to, I had Prison for it. I had Bottomless for it. Here I also set multiple cards to hedge around Icarus. I flip it, but I don't tribute. I just say think if I'm going to chain. I decide not to chain. I do have Blizzard in hand, but I would just rather this Shura die it's the death it's supposed to, because there's no point with like doing this, but it is a play that I could have made. And it was actually one I had to really think about, because like this set winds up being Mirror Force. If it is Mirror Force, I actually would not mind getting rid of it, but it winds up not mattering. I just the main thing was now I got rid of his Icaruses and he can't play the game. I prison, and it's just having these trap cards. It's just having these trap cards that make so much of a difference. Here to summon the second Shura, and he Mirror Forces me. I have my own Mirror Force, so it's fine. He gets Stuff Shoot, puts back the that, but I just search it back out because I have Kalut, and then I know that this has to be value. There's nothing else he's setting in this deck. And see, I got lucky with the MST here, obviously. Like I said, I got lucky in these matches. I mean, I can't say that I didn't get lucky. But, you know, the theory here is that, like, when you summon Armor Master, they need to do... Like, he sided Skill Draining against Blackwings. The deck that wants to play Skill Drain on its own. Now, I don't side it at the moment, but I've sided it before. The deck doesn't care about Skill Drain. But you know what card in the deck does care about Skill Drain? Armor Master. The only thing that his deck can't do anything about. Except for summon Briannac. And I just go in here. I mean, Mirror Force is gone. I mean, these players don't play any additional trap cards, which is another thing. Like, I don't have to care about Torrential. I don't have to care about Bottomless or Deep Prison. Like, this deck just has no defense in the mirror, and it's just, if he had Prisons here, then I mean, he probably just lives because this Armed Wing can't do anything. I mean, he draws the second Skill Drain. But like, if this were Prison, I don't think he'd be fine per se, but I mean, he would have not taken 1,800 damage from this Armed Wing. He would have been on like a reasonable amount of life points. Did I get lucky here and have a Whirlwind? He didn't have it? Sure. Absolutely. But I think you guys can kind of see exactly what I'm getting at here. When I say, like, you know, you summon the Armor Master, you have the trap cards, they just don't really have ways to deal with it. Like, you can say, well, they have Nobleman Extermination, that's why we play Nobleman, but when you have Prisons and Icaruses and Bottomlesses, Dust Tornado, Book of Boom, you have so many things that the Nobleman can hit. It doesn't matter if the Nobleman's hitting certain things, because you have so many more. You know? And one of the things, it kind of goes back to some theory a while back that I had, I was talking about ProStorm talking with ProStorm about, and I was like, I mean, if they side in Crow, I don't want to side out things that get hit by Crow. Come on. You know, it's like, because he was talking about siding out, like, Avarices and Magical Stones in Dragon Turbo. Now, granted, in Dragon Turbo, Magical Stone Excavation is it's like a -3 if they Crow. You don't want to get hit by Crow. It's the one instance where it's like, yeah, but in the context of other decks, I was like, well, I don't want to side things out against Crow. Crow's one card. If I have more things that they want to Crow than that they actually can, I mean, I'm fine. I don't care about the Crow anymore. And it's the same here with the trap cards versus the Nobleman. It's like the only card that multiple traps on the field cares about is Heavy Storm. Or this Decree, which he sided against me and didn't matter because, yeah. That's another thing, like, when you're siding in Decree alongside Skill Drain, when you're already making a concession to side Skill Drain against Blackwings because like the deck has one card that it makes more efficiently than you, that just like runs your whole deck in, like, yeah. But yeah, so it's just kind of the same. Like, I don't care if you Nobleman Extermination one of my traps, I have more. Like, I have more things to Nobleman than you have Noblemans, so it doesn't bother me. Like, it doesn't make the matchup worse. Like you can have all the, all the logic in the world for why the traps don't matter, why the deck's allowed to be aggressive. But in practice, it just it doesn't work like that. I mean, you have one storm, you have multiple Noblemans. I'm just going to set all of my traps, or at least like multiple of them. Like, I don't care if you storm me here. If you storm me here, you're just better than me. You literally, like, that's all I can really say is, like, sure, have it. Like, but I mean, when I'm playing around Nobleman and, you wind up using it on my one Icarus, well, one of my Icaruses to banish all three, now all yours are gone, and now I have all the traps and you don't have any, I win the game. I don't care. So yeah, that's the video on my matchups with pure Blackwing against the hybrid list. I hope this video was pretty informative. Like, I did watch it on fast forward, so we didn't really go through like super in detail. Like the plays I could have made. I did misplay in that first match. I think I played fine in the rest of these matches. I mean, like, playing both Shuras into a Mirror Force was a little iffy. But I think turning Shura to defense is the same as just giving it up. I would rather there not be a Shura on the field than a Shura in defense that he can run over. And yeah, I have Mirror Force bottomless, but look, he has Decree. I'd seen him side in Decree in previous matches. Like, I knew he was probably going to bring in Decree against all my trap cards. I would rather have a Shura in the grave than have it in defense on the field, and he just gets to do whatever he wants. So I don't think it was a misplay to walk into Mirror Force there, because I think the end result of like trying to hold on to a Shura actually winds up being worse for me, because not only do I lose it with more card advantage loss than if I just lose it. So, but you should probably just argue don't play in a Mirror Force there, but I mean, I think it's fine. The other matches I think I played, oh yeah, you can even see here, I said makes life easier for us when I banish the Icaruses. Yeah, so I hope this video was informative for people, like, kind of see why so many top players just don't like playing the hybrid Blackwing lists, and why we prefer pure. I know that it's still a heated debate, but you saw in all of these situations, the grepher did nothing. The grepher was a legit liability the whole time against me. Anytime that they had a Blackwing play in hand, they opted to go for the Blackwing play. Whether it's Blizzard, whether it's like Whirl Bora, Whirl Shura, Whirl Sirocco. The Blackwing plays always took precedence, and the greffers did nothing for these players for the vast majority of the match. They did win games, but the games they won were doing normal Blackwing things to me, and where I just didn't draw the defense for it, or I made like some critical error, because I do not play perfectly all the time. But yeah, so that's the video, guys. If you have anything to say about this, leave it in the comments, message me on Discord, whatever. Again, I want to see some questions for a Q&A video. Anything Yu-Gi-Oh related. Message me, post in the comments. Once again, I apologize to Randage for leaving out of this video, but like I said, I think it was just easier to go through it solo, and you can be on some other time. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy.